What's up, airplane collectors? Welcome to Model Review. It's your host Ray. In today's video, I'll be reviewing the Inflight 200 United Airlines Airbus A319. Before I start the video, I'd like to apologize for my voice. I am still sick, as I said in my last video. I'm on my way out though. I'm on a path to recovery, so I shouldn't last like this for too much longer. In this video, I'll talk about the box, then the model itself, and at the end of the video, I'll give my personal opinion about what I think of the model and whether or not I recommend it to other collectors. We have a lot to cover in this video, so I won't waste any more time and let's get this party started. The box is your standard issue Inflight 200 box at 22 centimeters lengthwise, 21 centimeters tall, and about 9 centimeters wide. I'll show you around the box now. The box for this aircraft is quite unique when compared to other 1 to 200 scale aircraft, as instead of an entire box for the box art is comprised of this cover here that covers the main white box. I should also mention that on my example, the white cover, or the cover that comes on the white box, was extremely difficult to remove, and it still is. So I guess something went wrong with the fitting on this, and the fitting of the covering here is very tight on the box. When you open up the box, you get the model fully assembled and painted and ready to go, 2 options for landing gear configuration, and a display stand. The options for the landing gear configuration are in the extended and the retracted position. However, I won't be able to demonstrate what the landing gear covers look like in the retracted position due to the fact that I just simply can't fit them in the model. I'll explain more on that later. And here's the model itself. I'll give you a quick 360 so you can get a good look at the model's features. The fuselage length for this model is 17 centimeters, the wingspan is 17.5 centimeters, and it's about 6 centimeters tall, accurate to 1 to 200 scale, and decently sized when compared to most things. I should also mention that this model is made primarily out of die-cast metal, so it is rather heavy for its size. Oh god, you can hear the wheel scratching on the desk. I'll start up the review up at the front of the aircraft. Here we can see the nose shape and the nose section of the aircraft. The nose profile on this model looks really nice. The nose shape looks solid. No complaints on the shape there. Here on the left side, there's all sorts of printed and painted details to see. All of it looks pretty good on this side. However, on the other side and on the front of the nose, there are a few things that I'd like to warn you about. Moving down the fuselage, we can see the giant United title, the overwing exit, windows, and all sorts of printed details. All of it looks pretty good. Everything seems to align correctly, and no complaints so far. Moving up to the vertical stabilizer, here's the vertical stabilizer. Overall shape looks good. Color is not the best. I believe the United title here is a little bit too dark of a blue. It might not too dark, but it is darker than it should be. And the color fade from the almost black here to what should be a very light blue is not done very well. It should be a bit more noticeable. The blue up here should be more bright, and the black here should be a bit more dark. So the color fade is really not the best. So if you are picky about the color fade, I suggest looking into a different model. Here's a quick shot at the right side of the vertical stabilizer. The reason I'm doing this is because I'd like to show a bit of detail on the right side of the fuselage momentarily. Here's the right side of the fuselage. The rear section looks pretty good, same deal with the other side. However, we get a bit more problematic once we hit the front of the airplane. So right now everything looks good, printed detail looks fabulous. However, I noticed that the connecting people and uniting the world title here is cut off here at the... I'm going to have to move the model up this way so you can see that. But yeah, you can see that there's only an ing from connecting on the title here, and the rest of it's just faded off, so I'm not sure what happened. A few other small things that I noticed is a few issues with, I guess, paint application. There's a few gray marks here, which are not printed details or painted details, I noticed. So, yeah, paint application on the side wasn't the best. However, things get really annoying at the front of the aircraft. Here you can see a noticeable mark on the front of the aircraft, on the nose right here. And I tried removing this with acetone and alcohol, and none of it came off. So it was an issue with paint application, and unfortunately it's right on the center of the nose, so it's impossible to miss. Another thing that I noticed, which I don't think you can see here, but you can definitely see here, is what looks to be I guess some sort of strand of hair. I'm not sure what happened there, but this became embedded in the paint somehow, and it wouldn't come off. It's like a dark blue color, so I'm going to assume it's a paint issue, or it might just be some piece of debris. I really don't know what happened there, But yeah, that was rather depressing to see. Moving on to the wings. The wings on this model overall look pretty good, especially with respect to detail. The molded detail on this model is pretty good. I don't notice anything exactly wrong with it. I do notice that there is a missing line here on the air brakes. I'm not sure if that's not supposed to be there, but I'm used to seeing the air brakes divided up into 4 separate sections, but here it's only 3, so I assume either the mold was changed or paint filled in the spot. I'm not sure what happened there. But aside from that, colors look good, printed detail looks good. Just kidding, no, the overwing exits, here you can see the white, the gray under the white here bleeds through a lot, and the printed line also bleeds through the white here too. Yeah, coloring on the overwing exit markings wasn't really the best. Same story with the overwing exit on the right wing too. And the same detail I noticed on the air brake that was missing on the left wing is also missing on the right wing. At a glance, the fenced wingtips on this model look really solid. I've always liked Inflight 200's Airbus wingtip fences. However, you can see on this one, on the one here on the right, it appears to have been bended. Very little, but it definitely was bent in some way or another. Here's the one on the left side for reference. You can see it's very straight, but the one on the right side was bent, so that was rather sad to see. There really isn't that much to see on the bottom of the wings, but this is what it looks like. Here is the rear section of the aircraft. Here we can see the horizontal stabilizers and the APU. Horizontal stabilizers look good. There's a bit of printed detail on the top, none on the bottom, but that's to be expected. And you can see the APU access doors there. Those look good. The APU itself looks really nice. Wow, it actually looks very nicely detailed. You can see the exhaust. It looks pretty good. It even has a little hole there. Very nicely done on the APU, and overall here on the rear section, no complaints. Moving on to the engines of this model, the engines on this model are pretty good. You can see here on the pylon, there's a lot of detail there, and overall the engine shape looks solid. I don't notice any issues with it. In terms of the fan blades and the spinner spirals, there are spinner spiral markings and fan blade details. The fan blades spin, though rather stiffly on this example, and I guess they don't want to spin for this demonstration, but yeah, on some examples they spin, but I guess on mine they don't. And moving to the rear section of the engine, if the wing doesn't cover it, you can see the exhaust barely. Let me turn up the light there. That's what the exhaust nozzle looks like. It's very detailed. It looks pretty good. Only issue with the engine is that the fan blades don't spin sometimes. The undersides of the engines have a decent selection of printed and painted detail on there. All of it looks pretty good. No complaints. And you can see this little fairing here, or this little extension. And there's also one at the bottom of the engine too. This is present on both the left and right engines, and both of them look really good. Moving on to aerial details, this model features a combination of sat domes, antennas, and 3D lights. At the top of the aircraft, we have 3 antennas, 1 3D light, and 1 sat dome. You can see the large antennas, I believe they're VHF antennas, one in the front of the aircraft, one in the rear section, right in front of the sat dome, and a very small one right here. All of them look pretty good. All of them are attached very nicely and through sturdy measures, and I don't think they'll fall off, and they look relatively fragile, but obviously you have to be careful when handling them. Up here we also have a 3D light. It's painted red, and this also looks good too. Alignment looks good, and no complaints. As for the sat dome, I'm not 100% sure if this is the correct shape. It follows the general profile of the real aircraft. However, I wasn't able to verify the actual shape of this aircraft's sat dome, so I'm going to assume it's accurate, but if you know better, then please comment that down below. On the bottom of the aircraft, we have 3 more antennas and another 3D light. We have a small antenna here, a large antenna here, and then another small antenna here. These smaller antennas are of a different shape than the smaller antenna at the top of the aircraft, which is a correct detail. Very nice. And this 3D light right here, right in the dead center of the Inflight logo. So I found it rather funny that they put that there right in the center of the Inflight logo, but it still looks good. Due to this aircraft's design with its aerial features, particularly this antenna on the top of the aircraft, I'm unable to demonstrate what the aircraft looks like upside down because I don't want to risk breaking the antenna, but I'll still do my best on demonstrating what the landing gear and the bottom of the aircraft looks like. So yeah, just a quick notice on that. Thank you for bearing with me, and here's what the aircraft looks like on the display stand. I forgot to show this earlier. So here's the nose landing gear of the aircraft. Overall, the landing gear are very nicely detailed. The wheels roll. However, on my example, the nose wheel, one of the nose wheels came mostly detached from the rim, and it took a bit of tweaking with precision tweezers to get the wheel back in place, and it was actually really stubborn, so that wasn't fun to deal with. But yes, the landing gear are magnetically attached. Here's what the main landing gear looked like. The main landing gear looked pretty good. They're very nicely detailed. The wheels roll very smoothly, and they're also magnetically attached like the nose gear. So they come off the model relatively easily, and they fit in the model pretty well. As for the gear balance, we'll check that in a later segment of the video. No complaints on that, but what I'd like to certainly mention, as I mentioned earlier, is the retracted landing gear covers, which I will show what those look like momentarily. So this is what the covers look like, and with most 1 to 200 scale models, you get these so you can cover the slots left behind by the gear when they're not in the extended position. But here's just a rough size comparison with one of the covers with the slot it's supposed to go into. And normally I don't like pushing and shoving very much, but it's impossible, no matter what I tried, to fit this cover into the slot. And I get it, there is a little bit of a gap that goes into the fuselage where the cover is supposed to go, but even then it doesn't fit in there very well, and I highly doubt I'd be able to fit it in there without scratching the paint off of the model, the cover, or both. So yeah, the covers are for the main landing gear are very bad. So I really wasn't pleased with that. As for the nose gear, you can kind of get an idea of how bad the cover is here too. It's one, way too small, and two, the tools that you're given to remove it are not compatible with it. You'll bend the tool and probably get a piece of the tool stuck in the gaps remaining there. Here are the tools, by the way. They're little plastic contraptions that allow you to try and fish out the cover effect of, basically. It allows you to fish out the cover. And overall, the tools aren't helpful. The gear covers are not good. So if you want to display this model with the gears up, don't even bother with the covers. Finally, something redeeming about this model. Here's what the model looks like standing tall and proud from the front. You can see the nose stain that I pointed out earlier. But here we can see wing flex, gear balance, and cockpit window printing. Wing flex looks good. That's at least something going for this model. Gear balance looks damn near flawless. Okay, holy cow, the gear balance on this model looks really good. Given that these gears are magnetically attached, it's quite impressive to achieve near perfect gear balance with a model like this, so that's also a nice touch. And cockpit window printing appears to be mostly symmetrical, so very nicely done on all of those. That's certainly a bit of redemption for this model. I'm done with my review, and now I'll give my personal opinion and recommendation of whether or not I recommend this model to other collectors. By the way, the model that you see to the left of the A319 is the Inflight 200 United Airlines Airbus A320. I posted a review of this model a little more than a year ago, so if you want to watch that, go watch that. But I figured it'd be nice to include the two sitting next to each other. Overall, the model is very highly detailed, a lot of detail to go around, but there are quite a few defects with it, and honestly, all these defects for such an expensive model, I'm not really sure it's worth the trade-off. So do I recommend the model? Honestly, I do not recommend this model to other collectors, due to the fact that I might have gotten a bad example, but generally overall, Inflight 200 quality has been dropping steadily, and that's very concerning. So if you want to get this model, get it. It's a risk. It's certainly a risk. You probably will get some sort of issue with it, but sometimes the risk is worth the reward. I'll bring in the A320, for example. A320 is a fabulous model. I got almost no defects with that one. And yeah, I really do believe that there are other examples of the A319 that have similar traits that with the A320. So yeah, hopefully it's just a bad example that I got, but if you do want to get this model, tread carefully and don't say I didn't warn you. Well, that concludes the video. Thanks so much for watching. If you like this video, give me some feedback. If you didn't like this video, give me more feedback. I need to know how to improve my videos. And that's all I got for you. Like, comment, and subscribe. Stay tuned for more model airplane and siren content. And I'll see you in my next video. Take care of yourselves. Catch you later.